First of all, I want to seize the opportunity to make a quick introduction. I want to say hi to everyone who is currently with us in this platform to talk about or to learn a little bit about the World Bank Inspection Panel as a mechanism for promoting and protecting human rights. Yeah, my name is Shaka Ceesay, and I am the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue Initiatives. I want to say a very big thank you to JHC for the opportunity given to me. That's the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, for the opportunity given to me to actually present on this topic. It's an honor. Thank you very much, the team at the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, for this opportunity. Yeah, I want to say that sometimes a lot of people will want to say why it is that Shaka or FIIDI will want to be very much passionate to talk about the World Bank Inspection Panel as a mechanism. And of course, coming from me as an individual person and also as an organization that works with communities in the developing world, I think it's very, very important for us to first of all understand before I talk about the inspection panel that the economic development and the recovery of most African states, especially for countries like Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso, where we operate, they are largely dependent on World Bank finance and supported projects. And this is why we are very much interested in this topic. And so one may want to know, what is this World Bank mechanism that we are talking about? Well, if you are very, very, very much familiar with the UPR, which is the Universal Periodic Review mechanism at the United Nations system, it is something that is more or less similar to the World Bank Inspection Panel. But this is something that was created way back in 1993. And the reason why it was created way back in 1993 as a protective or accountability mechanism was because the World Bank had given a lot of or series of amounts of money to African governments or governments in the developing world with the expectation that while they go about implementing the project, they take into consideration the rights of the ordinary citizens. And so the World Bank thought it wise in 1993 to actually create the World Bank Inspection Panel as a complaint mechanism. And it's rather unfortunate that I say rather unfortunate that a lot of citizens across the board, I would say in the developing countries, don't know about the inspection panel. And I want to believe some of us probably are hearing about the inspection panel for the very, very first time. Yeah. And that's because the inspection panel itself, as an accountability mechanism, has not done much enough to publicize their work. But this is something, like I said, it started way back in 1993. Yeah, so the essence was actually to look into the operations or the implementation of World Bank funded projects. And the reason for that was actually to checkmate, to act as a check and balances mechanism to look at the way the projects are implemented at country or community level. Because many a times we have come to understand that when countries receive loans from the World Bank, for example, instead of them having to actually consult the local communities that are affected by this World Bank funded project, sometimes they take unilateral decisions as to how they can move people from one community to another without consultations. And so the World Bank realized that there were lots and lots of human rights violations when it comes to the protection of either the environment or a particular group of people in the communities that these projects are being implemented. And so with that, civil society organizations like I would say Conscience International back in the day, and also people like us, back in the day, started writing complaint letters to the World Bank to see what the project that they are funding, the kind of adverse effect it is causing on the environment or on a group of people. And so that was how the mechanism started its operations. And so, like I said earlier, it's a complaint mechanism actually. And it's for people and communities who have actually believed within them that they have either been or are likely to be adversely affected by a World Bank supported project. And so they seek either redress or recourse so that their issues could be addressed. So it was based on that that the World Bank, the board of directors at the World Bank created the inspection panel in 1993 to ensure that people have access to an independent body to which they can express freely their concerns and seek recourse or redress. So therefore, we see the inspection panel to be an organization that is very much impartial in its fact-finding responsibility. And it is equally, it's good to note that it will be important for you also to note that the World Bank, the inspection panel itself, is independent from the World Bank management and staff, and it reports directly to the board. What is the aim of the inspection panel? The aim is to promote accountability at the World Bank level and also give affected people the opportunity to have a greater voice in activities supported by the World Bank, especially where their rights have been compromised or their interests have been compromised, and seek an opportunity to address those issues. But then since its operations in 1993, when it started, I think by 2020, the board had actually decided to update the resolution that actually created the inspection panel and added some little bits of functions to the panel. And at the same time, the board also approved a resolution that established the World Bank accountability mechanism. So that is to say, you now have the inspection panel being seen at the World Bank level to be an accountability mechanism, which is called AM in short. And it has been operational, created, revisited in 2020, and then became operational in 2021. And that accountability mechanism under the World Bank is what is hosting the inspection panel today, with the responsibility of carrying out compliance reviews and dispute resolution services, which provides complainants with an additional option to have their concerns addressed. So technically, the inspection members, the inspection panel members, that those that actually work within the panel or within the panel are independent of the bank, that is the World Bank management. And like I said earlier, they report directly to the board which creates the inspection panel itself. So therefore, the inspection panel members coordinate with but are not subject to the supervision of the accountability secretary or secretariat. And again, I would say, as I'm explaining this, I would say that to us as an organization, and to us who do have people who do have an understanding of how the economic development or recovery, the economic recovery of most African countries, depend largely on World Bank funded projects. We see this recourse or redress mechanism as the only way out that the citizens themselves do have, as an opportunity to voice out things that affect them in the implementation of a World Bank funded project. And that is why what happens at the World Bank at the inspection panel level is that the inspection panel assesses any sort of complaint or allegations that has a tendency to harm or violate the rights of ordinary citizens when a World Bank project is being implemented. And so they pay closer attention to some of these things. And many a times when you look at some of the issues that are being brought by people who are affected by World Bank implemented or implementation projects, you understand that sometimes the livelihood of the ordinary people are being affected, leaving them with no option but to seek recourse. And for example, say maybe the World Bank has funded the government of Sierra Leone, for example, or the government of Nigeria, for example, or the government of Kenya to construct 3,000 road 3,000-kilometer road network. And so they will expect that the government of Kenya or the recipients of the loan should create an opportunity to engage with the locals so that they have an opportunity to hear how much this project would impact the economic, social, and probably I would say spiritual life of the ordinary citizens where the road will pass through. And so this gives us an opportunity for the people to actually voice out their concerns. And also, when we talk about climate change, we'll have to look at what is the adverse effect on the environment. These are some of the things that actually created the opportunity for the World Bank to consider creating the inspection panel. And the panel also provides some sort of advisory services through different reports and publications on lessons emerging from cases that they've received or they've dealt with. Today, they have reports, country reports, or they even have individual organizational reports that comes to their offices that are served as case study. And with these case studies, they are now able to actually pinpoint on the lessons learned from those cases to actually develop new strategies to engage with beneficiary governments, those that are receiving loans from the World Bank, as to how they can prepare the ground for them to be able to actually implement this kind of project without any problems. And of course, there is a structure within the inspection panel which consists of 3 members appointed the board by these 3 members are actually appointed by the board of executive directors for a period of a renewable period of 5 years. That is, based on the satisfactory performance of their services, they are re-elected after every 5 years, or new people are being elected to be the panel members. That's 3 members, and sometimes they are actually, the way they are selected is based on their experience and knowledge about what these complaints are about, based on previous complaints that the inspection panel has received before now. And it's also an opportunity in another way around for them to be exposed to developmental issues and living conditions in the developing countries, because sometimes you have panelists within the inspection panel who are coming from developed nations. They actually don't have a clear understanding or first-hand evidence of the impact of some of these projects on the ground. So they also see this as an opportunity for them to be exposed to the conditions of people receiving these loans and how they are being implemented in developing countries. And of course, the panel has a permanent secretariat that provides operational and administrative support to the work of the inspection panel. And for example, for its fact-finding missions and investigation, the panel hires different people, independent people, based on customized job responsibility or roles in order for them to meet the goal of the inspection panel. But like I mentioned earlier, now that based on the resolution, now the panel has what it's called accountability mechanism, which started in 2021. The panel now houses the panel now is being housed by the World Bank accountability mechanism after it became operational. And it is obvious that everyone wants the panelists, those that work within the panel, the inspection panel, to continue to remain independent, and to continue to coordinate activities that are subject to the supervision of the accountability mechanism or secretariat. So in looking at all these things that I've just made mention of, for us as civil society actors or civil society activists, we tend to look at what is the benefits that we do have as organizations working on the promotion and the protection of human rights within the context of promoting a developmental approach to most of the activities that we do. We would like to say that um, the inspection panel is very, very much important to the work that we do as human rights activists or development practitioners, because many African governments or African states depend largely on World Bank finance projects for their economic growth or recovery. But the challenge there right now is, like I said in the beginning, I remember way back in 2015 when I was first invited by a staff from the inspection panel to actually be part of those that will listen to them, get to learn a little bit about the work that they are doing in 2015. And I was shocked to my greatest surprise when they said to me that, oh, the inspection panel has been in existence since 1993. And I said, for those of us who have been in the promotion and protection of human rights for quite a little while, this is the first time that I'm hearing something about the inspection panel. So does that mean there hasn't been any mechanism within the inspection panel to publicize the work of the panel, or what's going on? Is there no partnership that is needed for the work of the inspection panel to be known? And I remember the lady said to me, well, that is the reason why we are calling organizations like you to actually create an opportunity to sensitize or create platforms or fora that gives people the opportunity to actually know much more, a little bit or much more about the work of the inspection panel. And in fact, it was one of the things that I do remember I said to Renee, the work of the inspection panel, it's very, very important, be it in Canada, and be it in Africa, be it in Asia. But it's very, very important that those of us who are in the forefront of promoting and protecting human rights are very much aware of such a mechanism as this, the inspection panel, just like you have the Universal Periodic Review at the United Nations system. And it was based on this that I suggested that this is a topic that I would like to talk about. Yeah, but again, like I said, not everybody knows about the inspection panel. And in fact, I would say to you that I don't have the exact data, but I would want to say that up until now, we'll probably have less than 200 cases from African government or Africans or African civil society organizations. This is not because the inspection panel is not effective. It is effective, but I think, in my opinion, it lacks the partnership that will stand out to actually educate the citizenry of development nations to know that there is such a complete mechanism as this. And let us bear in mind as well that there are organization or group of organized, citizens that have come out in time past to actually stage demonstrations or stage resolutions that they say, oh, we don't want this project here. The reason for that is because we have not been consulted, so therefore we don't want this project to be with us. And because of that, it's either caused the World Bank to actually put money where it's not supposed to be, or give loans that are not supposed, or they are not actually welcomed by the citizens, or they've given out money with the expectation that the government will do what we call due diligence, with the citizens, which is never or was never done, and creating commotion or confrontation between the citizen and the government that receives the funding or the loan. So for us, I would say again that it's rather unfortunate that many CSOs and communities in Africa have little or no knowledge about such a human rights mechanism and as the inspection panel, but it is never too late. This kind of platform that we do have, it's an opportunity for us to talk about the work that we believe the inspection panel can do in countries that they've supported and in countries that they've not supported. And therefore, We want to believe that organizations like the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights have a bigger role to play in this sense, especially when there has been discussions around the subject matter between myself and Rene to actually see how much we can engage not only local organization, not only local organizations that are based in the developing world, but how can we also engage international organizations that are willing to work in this subject matter? Yeah. So for us to be in a better position to actually provide a sense of education or awareness raising for civil society organizations across the board, be it in Africa, be it in Asia, or be it in North America or Europe, I think that we need to first of all, take advantage of the very opportunities that we have in platforms like this, and also each and every time we do have an opportunity to attend um, 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 conferences around the world that are related to human rights, nation building, or developmental aspirations. We need to actually engage people on the importance of the inspection panel as individual organization. And I think the impact can happen if we are able to organize what I would call transfer of knowledge. In essence, giving other civil society organizations the opportunity to take ownership of this kind of approach. Because, like I said, I remember one time I spoke to the inspection panel about a few months ago, and I said, you know what, we need to set up a secretariat or form a coalition that we can say the coalition for the inspection panel. That is a coalition of civil society organizations coming together to form a network that promotes the work of the inspection panel. Even though I have to say this, that the inspection panel does not have legal implications on states. In essence, I'm trying to say that they cannot legally hold states responsible for human rights abuses or human rights violations committed in the implementation of any project that is funded by the World Bank, but rather they can either stop, put that project to a hold because the government has not respected its commitment when it comes to human rights promotion and protection, or they can entirely, wholly and entirely, bring the project to an end, cancel the project. But I think that the impact of what we intend to do as civil society organization um, in creating a coalition of civil society organizations from all over the world to support the work of the inspection panel would be that it's giving people the opportunity to be educated in terms of their responsibility in holding the government accountable when it comes to those projects that are funded by the World Bank, so that they too, in their small communities or in their association or as civil society organizations, they can checkmate the implementation processes and accountability mechanisms within the government, so that they are sure to actually implement the project in the sense and in the face of a human value or a human rights approach. Yes. So it's something new, I would say. It's new maybe to some of us who are listening to me right now. But like I said, it's been there since, I would say, almost like 30 years ago, since 1993. But where do we stand today as civil society organization? What do we do to actually spread the word? I know in I think, was it in the later part of 2015, I had also, on a personal level, on behalf of Conscience International, where I used to work as the executive director in the Gambia in Sierra Leone, I had actually proposed to the World Bank then, and I said to them, I have a connection. I have a broad network of civil society organizations within the African continent. And so I did say to them at that time that if you guys want me to mobilize civil society actors or human rights defenders from Africa, I can bring them in one place, and then bring you, the World Bank, the inspection panel, to come talk to them about what the World Bank is, or the inspection panel is all about. And I think it was in October of 2015, either October or November of 2015, I was able to bring civil society organizations from across the African continent, Southern Africa, North Africa, Central Africa, Western Africa, and North Africa. They came together. And so I was able to invite the inspection panel. Our staff was sent from their New York office, sorry, the Washington office, to come and work with me, where we both did an awesome presentation on the work of the inspection panel, and also, relating it to our human rights mechanism within the African continent, which has no too far away similarities in upholding the principle of human rights, and at the same time also the protection mechanism within the African human rights system. So I think this is also an opportunity that we could take advantage of. It's also an opportunity that we can expand on. It's also an opportunity that we can build partnership on. Because if we want to relate this to the sustainable development goals, for example, where we see partnership to be a very key component of achieving the sustainable development goals, then I also want to say that, in upholding or in pushing further with this initiative, especially in setting up a coalition for the inspection panel, this is an area that we will have to look deep into, and I mean partnership building with different organizations. And I want to believe in doing that, it doesn't take us much. Rather, 2 or 3 organizations could stand out there to say, you know what, 3 of us, the John F. Center for Peace and Human Rights, will come together with the Foundation for Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue Initiative. We bring together the Alberta Council for Global Cooperation, and then bring these bodies together and say, you know what, let's start this coalition. Because I always tell people that when we talk about human rights, the importance of human rights is that it has a universal imperative. So which means wherever you are, whichever standpoint you look at it, it affects all of us as a global community. And so that's why I'm seeing the work of the inspection panel to be one that is very, very important. And it's something that we can incorporate into all our programs. And as I'm saying this, please feel free, if you have a question, post your question on the chat. I will be more than willing to respond to your question as I go with the presentation, or as I do present verbally. I do know that many people might want to ask, Shaka, how many cases are before the inspection panel? What is the authority? How far can the inspection panel go in terms of dealing with cases? Well, like I said, the inspection panel does not have their own, they don't have their own police. They don't have enforcing mechanisms, I would say, but they do have 2 or 3 action-oriented steps that they can take to actually, hold governments accountable for what they are doing with loans that are being provided by the World Bank. And today in Africa, I would say, as of I think as of 2015 or 2016, I think there were only about, I am not so sure, I don't want to give wrong figures, but I think as of 2015, I would say we didn't have a lot of cases. It was only around, I think, 160 requests, I would say, complaint mechanisms as of 2015 that were reported before the inspection panel. And as of that same 2015, even though Africa received a chunk of all these loans from the World Bank, it is surprising to note that up until 2015, there were only 49 complaints that were submitted to the inspection panel as of 2015. I am sure maybe by now, maybe we do have more than that amount of 49 cases over the years, because it's almost going to like 10 years since 2015. But as of that time, we had about 49 cases being submitted. and how many of those that have actually received clear facts finding based results. There are that actually receive a clear fact finding based result, and steps we are taking actually to caution the governments that are involved in making sure that the right steps are taken to actually respect the rights of the ordinary citizens in actually promoting or protecting human rights. And I think, thank you very much, Renee. I think um, another approach, yes, I quite agree with you, Renee. Another approach would definitely be one that has to do with following up with those cases, amplifying or putting a force behind them and using them as case study to actually, bring to light what those ahead of us have done before us taking, a stand, and what are the results of those cases that have been reported to the mechanism. Where are they? What level are they at? And what decision the inspection panel has taken to date concerning those cases. I think if we do a review of those cases and also taking a chance of actually looking at them from the standpoint of, knowing that, yes, those who submitted those cases are doing a good job. How can we follow up with those cases, and which position are we going to take as civil society organization or human rights organizations to continue to support the work of the inspection panel? Will be a very good step for us to have at least a tangible evidence or evidential work that we could use as a base or a foundation to launch out that which we want to start with the inspection panel. That's really very good work. And like I said, the most of the work of the inspection panel is done at an independent level. So many a times, even where you come up with a suggestion, they look at it, okay, we are independent from your organization, and your organization is independent from what we do as an organization. You can take a step on your own and submit your paper or submit your complaint to us, and we can look at it. But they tend to shy away from building partnership with individual or a coalition of organizations, because to them, they want to remain as independent as possible. And again, I think in following up those cases that have already been reported, been submitted, the complaints been submitted, I think that when 2 or 3 organizations have the ability or the resources to come together and form a coalition, we can work from a standpoint of a befitting and a stronger voice that will be able to hold this complaints, or will be able to follow up or amplify the voices behind the complaints with a group of organizations coming together. Please feel free to send in your questions. Yeah, I'll be more than willing to respond to them as I go. Yeah, so I think as like I said earlier on, this is an idea that is fairly new. When I'm talking about not the inspection panel, but the idea of coming together as organizations to form a coalition for the inspection panel to support them. It's quite new, but I think it's also not something that is too difficult to do as organizations interested in promotion and protection of human rights. And like I said earlier on, coming from Africa, I believe, having been in the human rights, having used the human rights the African human rights mechanism for so much or so long, there is nothing within the provisions of the inspection panel that differ from what the African human rights system stands for, or even the European Human Rights Commission stands for. And so I think that we are still in a better position to actually relate the provisions of the inspection panel to individual or regional human rights mechanisms across the world that we can put into perspective. Yeah. So for us at FIIDI, we are more than open to work with organizations that are willing to work with us. And of course, we do have a partnership going on with the John Office Center for Peace and Human Rights, which is being strengthened I would say every day, every week. But then it's a good start. That if anybody is interested in being part of what we are doing, to reach out to us, either reach out to the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights or talk to FIIDI. We'll be more than happy to engage. Yeah, so we will continue to engage with the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights. And like I said, it's something that also an idea we can bring forward to the ACGC, the Alberta Council for Global Cooperation, because they handle projects that are based on global education, citizen education. So it's a better place to collaborate as well and see how best we can move forward with what we are doing. Yeah, so will I say I rest my case here? But it's been really a very, very good opportunity for me to have um, been able to do this presentation and to also have few people put comments and yeah, giving some individual perspective as to what we could do and what we think we can do as a group. Yeah. Jessica, are you in the background? Mm. Do we have any questions? Please feel free to pose. Okay. Um, uh,
Hello.
yeah, I have. Gloria has just sent me a question. How does the panel engage with affected communities or stakeholders during investigation? And so, like I said earlier on during my presentation, even though the inspection panel has about 3 members that are appointed by the executive directors. What they do normally do is that they tend to hire people with customized expertise in the area of investigation. So once the inspection panel receive a complaint and they review its merits to see how much it has met the requirements of the inspection panel, the merit stage. They are able to actually look at it from a perspective of saying, you know what, based on the specific area that this project is supposed to address, we are actually going to hire people within either that country or people from outside of that country to come and actually investigate, engage with stakeholders or engage with the complainants to actually see how admissible the complaint is to the inspection panel. But this is actually done after a thorough investigation has been done, and the thorough investigation always involves the government, the local people, and civil society organizations like you and I as well. And yeah, and at the end of it all, the investigators will come up with a report to actually ascertain the admissibility of the case for it to be taken into consideration. Yeah. But again, like I said earlier, the inspection panel try always to stay independent. That they tend to keep away from establishing any partnership with any local organization because they don't want to influence any decision of civil society organization or what they intend to do. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gloria. That was a beautiful question. Yes. Then any last question? Does anyone has something to add or to ask? I'm still here.
Nothing yet in the chat. I guess if people want more information about your organization or anything, I don't know if you have access to the chat, but if they just want to get in touch with you to learn more, can they reach out?
Yes, of course, like I said earlier, we FIIDI is very much open. In fact, one of the things that we are looking at, yeah, for example, I know when normally we say the name of our organization is the Foundation for Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue Initiative, people will probably won't look at it from the standpoint of us addressing religious and cultural issues. But yes, that's it. That might be true, but the thing is, we look at it from what we do as an organization is using our goal and using religion and culture as a lens to reach the people that are benefiting from our programs. So FIIDI is quite open to collaboration. FIIDI is quite open to initiatives like this for global collaboration, I will say. And there is always a possibility. And one key possibility that I want to insist on before the end of the session is one that has to do with the creation of a coalition. And it's a coalition that will start with 2 or 3 organizations, of which I think that either FIIDI or the John F. Center can be the initial or founding members of the coalition for the inspection panel. And like I said, the work is very, very relevant because it does not only church the economic development of these nations that do receive loans from the World Bank, but it also has to do with the individual development aspiration of citizens. And let us don't forget that even the right to self-determination may be threatened by a World Bank supported project where people are not consulted. So let us wrap our heads around the fact that we can always come up with an idea that brings us together around the subject matter, or even where necessary, we can do a thorough research, like Rene said earlier, on the cases that have already been submitted or complaints that have already been submitted, those that have met their admissibility stage. How can we follow up on that and see exactly how effective the inspection panel has been, especially for developing countries in Africa? Yeah, you can check our website. Yeah, Jessica, I've just written down our website on the bottom of the chat. You can always reach out to us through that site, and also the Genofree Center. They can always contact us for anything that has to do with the inspection panel as a project that we can all wrap our heads around. But I think this is something that I'll be able to discuss much more with Rene and the team at the Journey of Free Center, so that we can take it from there.